Shalom, everyone. L'chaim. We just said a bracha. Welcome, everybody, to the Kabbalah Café, Erev Shabbat, and just before Shavuot 2022. And of course, we're talking about Nachnu Achshav Nilmat Mashu Mod Yafeh B'Kesher LeShavuot. We're going to learn a very interesting subject called the 10 Commandments of Dating. I'm very into dating, and אני מאוד רוצה שאנשים יהיו שידוכים ושלום בית ומשפחות. I'm very encouraging in trying to build up weddings and nice relationships. So we're going to learn about the 10 Commandments of dating. We talk about Shavuot. Shavuot, אנחנו קוראים את 10 הדיברות. ב10 הדיברות מדובר על כל מיני נושאים. לא רק זה, אלא בפרשת השבוע כתוב, ויהי ביום כלות משה להקים את המשכן. Here we have a chair over here. You're welcome to take this back and forth. ויהי... אני חושב שכתוב... כן, אבל... כן, אז בדיוק אני עוד מעט אני אגיד. כתוב כלות, זה פתוח. אני מבין. לא, זה סיום. אני מבין. ויהי ביום כלות משה להקים את המשכן. ביום שמשה הקים את המשכן, אנחנו כמו כלה. כך כתוב. לא רק שהוא גמר, שזה כמו כלה. אז לכן אני אומר שפרשת נשוא, דרך אגב זה מלשון נישואים, אז זה בהחלט קשור לנושא של 10 הדיברות. We're about to read the 10 Commandments on Sunday morning. Kulam muzmanim, everyone's welcome. Biyom Rishon Baboker, Sunday morning at 11 o'clock to hear the 10 hadibrot, to hear the 10 Commandments. And it's connected also with this week's parsha. The Ma'od Nadir Parashat Naso is Lefnei Shavuot. Usually, Parashat Naso is read after Shavuot. Naso means to lift. But that's also lift, laharim. Naso b'nei Gershon gamhem. But it's also from the word nisuim, which means marriage. Naso. And so we want to also connect this idea of the dating and also of the 10 hadibrot, the 10 Commandments, with the shir today of Parashat Naso. Bevakasha. As דבר ראשון נעשה הקדמה. Before we get into the 10 Commandments, first I want to do a short introduction. A short introduction. First of all, in order for us to understand and to follow how to date properly and how to have shalom bayit, we have to remember something very, very fundamental. And that is that by nature, beteva, men and women are different. HaKadosh Baruch Hu bara otanu shonim. Gvarim v'nashim, ze pashut, ze lo oto teder.
Which means?
It's not the same wavelength.
Oh.
Radio waves.
The frequency.
Frequencies, that's the word. Frequencies.
Different frequencies.
Different frequencies.
Amen.
One says this, I thought you meant this.
One's on AM, one's on FM.
That's it. I have a good excuse. I'm Canadian. My wife is Israeli. I can always say I didn't know.
So much.
Please don't hold it against me.
No wonder I like you so much.
Okay, but what she was saying.
Right.
It's a good excuse, but it's not such a good excuse.
Right.
Shalota. Bezrat Hashem.
יש לי עצה בשבילך.
מה
שהיא מבקשת, תעשה בזה.
שמעתי עצה פעם. שמעתי עצה. מה שהיא אומרת, תעשה כך.
לא.
אבל מה קורה כשעושים כך? זה עובר מיד על הראש. Anyways, so in the modern world, they try to convince you that the equality, men and women are equal, everyone's equal, and They try to convince you that men and women are the same. If we just realize that we're different, that's already the number one secret of success. Shalom, shalom. The fact, so Yoram is trying to say that Hashem created men and women. It's true. In other words, to marry together, but I'm just emphasizing the innovation. If we realize that it's a chidush, it's an innovation, and as far as status quo, as far as things the world runs, it's one of the biggest wonders from Hashem that a man and a woman can live under the same roof, because we're just simply a different wavelength, different currencies. To the extent that it says in the Talmud, "Kashe lezavgam ki kriyat yam suf." It's difficult for Hashem, so to speak. Nothing is difficult for Hashem. It seems to say that it's hard to match up man and woman like Kriyat Yam Suf. What's the hardest, the most difficult challenge in all of our history? That Hashem made the splitting of the Yam Suf. V'lachen, Bezrat Hashem, im ha'aseret ha'dibrot shal dating, anachnu nigaleh ech ken efshar. We want to see how it is possible to get along. Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim. I am Hashem your God. עכשיו, איך אנחנו יכולים לתרגם את זה לדייטינג? עכשיו, כל דבר שקורה בעולם, everything that happens in the world is divine providence. השגחה פרטית. הולכים ברחוב, you know what the Baal Shem Tov says. Baal Shem Tov passed away on Shavuot. Baal Shem Tov Omer, afilu aleh, even a little leaf that comes tumbling down, maybe there's a little worm. Ulay yesh tolat ala ritzpa. Anachnu lo yodim lama kol davar she'odeh, kol davar shekora ba'olam ze bidiyuk bul. It's exactly the way Hashem planned. Now, if that is true, and it is true by everything in our world, how much more so true by dating? Some people say, I dated this girl or I dated this boy, but maybe there's another one that's better for me. There are 3.5 billion men and 4.5 billion women. So who says that mi omer shazoti b'shvili? How do I know that that's for me? Or let's say 7.5 million Jewish men and 8.5 million Jewish women. Let's say a very wild number, very wild assessment. Mi omer, who says that this one is for me? We met, we dated, we went to the Bagel Café, and we had a nice lunch, and we tried hard, but everything seems good, everything seems fine. But who says maybe I'll find someone tomorrow, another woman who's better, who's more fitting for me? So here's the first message. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Maza mitzvah. What's the mitzvah? Anochi Hashem Elokecha. What do we say? Anochi Hashem Elokecha. I am Hashem your God. Asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim. Took you out of Mitzrayim. Thank you very much. So what's the mitzvah? What's the mitzvah? Can anybody? Ma mitzvah? No, it's a mitzvah. It's not only a statement. You're right. That's why I'm asking. So what's the mitzvah? Please help me out. Ma mitzvah. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Hashem, what do you want from us? Please. איפה כתוב? זה לא... יפה. אז אתה אומר משהו יפה, אבל יש כמה דעות, כמובן. There are different opinions in the halacha and the Rishonim. Some say that the mitzvah is emunah, faith. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, v'lachen, therefore believe in me. The Abarbanel says that it can't be that it's emunah. If you don't believe in him, then you can't say, I give you a mitzvah, I give you a command. If you don't accept his authority, so in other words, the emunah is even before you get to that seret hadibrot. So then what is, we're back to square one. Ma? Shema. ולכן, מה המצווה? זה מצווה. אין ספק שזה מצווה. זה לא רק מצווה, זה מצווה שכוללת את כל המצוות. שמה? אז אולי אתם מתכוונים מה שאני רוצה להגיד. ביטחון בהשם. Nasav Nishma, good, but that was before the Malach, the angel came to all the nations and said, "Do you want a Torah?" Each one said, "Well, what does it say there?" So that's Emunah, but there's bitachon, trust. It's a deeper level than Emunah. Emunah is faith. Trust in Hashem, bitachon, shekol ma Hashem will say, ze b'diuk tov, ze mashu rak b'kadosh baruch hu. That's Anochi Hashem Elokecha. It is the other way around, because in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism, first you believe in Hashem. Okay, now you recognize me, Hashem says. Now let me tell you what to do. But if you don't recognize the president or the prime minister or the mayor, for sure. Yafeh. You know why? I'll tell you why. אני אגיד לך למה. כי האמונה יש לנו כבר, אנחנו מאמינים בני מאמינים. אנחנו לא שואלים אותו מה מאמין. פעם אחת שאלתי מישהו, בקש ממנו שיניח תפילין. אז הוא אמר, אני לא מאמין. אמרתי, אתה כן מאמין. אמר, אני לא מאמין. אתה כן מאמין. הוא אומר לי, איך אתה אומר לי שאני מאמין? אני אומר לך שאני לא מאמין. אמרתי, אפילו אם אתה לא יודע, אתה מאמין. זה נמצא אצלך ב-DNA. Every Jew believes. So we have it. Once we did it before Matan Torah, we have it. It's already in our pockets. We have it. It's already with us. So I'm borrowing from this concept to bitachon. We have emunah, faith in Hashem. Yesh lanu emunah, she'kol ma she'kadosh baruch hu rotzeh, ze bidiyuk. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. So if Hashem made that two people should meet, that means that there's a reason for it. Now I have to say, it doesn't mean that you have to get married. It doesn't mean that you have that these two people, maybe you're supposed to have just a few dates, you learn something good from one another, and then move on. That also could be. We don't know. But if everything goes kaseder, en shum siba lagid lo, v'yesh regesh shel ahava, the chibur and the love is starting to build up. So to say that maybe tomorrow or next month I'm going to find someone else, that's wrong. Because Hashem wanted that you two should meet. Obviously, you're not meeting just for a business deal. You're meeting for to marry. No, it's not. Marriage is two parts of one neshama. That Hashem, we're the puppets, and Hashem puts us together. Hashem samotanu biyachad, and that means Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Trust in me. I'm telling you, if I made this happen, atem amurim litchatem. Next, what's the second one? What's the second mitzvah? You should not have any other gods. And this is what I like to say, that dating is not only not business, but it's not a game. You shouldn't date a number of people at the same time. So you shouldn't even think about other people. You have to give a person your full attention. את כל המרץ, את כל הכוח. בדיוק. אם זה לא אמור להיות, אז בסדר, נעבור הלאה. While you're dating, don't date anybody else, or no, don't even think about anybody else. Right now, you give the person a chance. I think you deserve it, and the other individual deserves it, to exclusively think about when you're selling your house, you can sell to different, you can have a number of people look at your house. When you're, I don't know, that's just an example. But when you're looking for your soulmate, just focus, give them a chance. Number 3, please help me out. What's the second? This one is but it's in other words, I don't know how it fits in, but let's try. I think we have to try, like by dating. You have to try. You have to give it a chance. Okay. Number 3, lo tisa Hashem Elokecha lashav. We should not say Hashem's name in vain. In other words, Hashem's name should be, it is sacred. I don't just you have to give it, you have to treat it with the right attention. Be very, very careful with Hashem's honor. And so what I want to say over here is that one date is nothing. And two dates are also nothing. You have to give the other person a chance, and you have to give yourself a chance. Today, it makes me crazy. People, they want to see a picture. They see a picture. If you don't see a picture, it's if they're dating with a picture. It's wrong. I think you have to give a person respect. You have to give the person a chance. Even though now with technology things are changing, I think we cannot lose the personal touch. We have to meet. After one second, please. I want to finish this. It's very, very sensitive. Thank you. I want to hear. But in just a minute. You can't know almost anything just with one meeting. To give a second date, at least 3 dates. Give the person, imagine the person comes home and says, and you say no. What does he know about me? What does she know about me? How could she say no? You didn't give me a chance to open my mouth because she go in different settings. Sometimes you go for a walk in the Gan Soccer. Sometimes you come over here in Bagel Cafe. Yerushalayim is beautiful.
Go on the Tayelet.
Go on the Tayelet in Arnona. There's so many beautiful places to go. And the more, it's very possible that the more you go out, the more a person opens up. Sometimes people are shy. You have to give yourself a chance. Now it's possible that it won't work out, but it will work out. That we don't know Hashem's plan. But if Hashem put two people, either they met on a kosher website, or they met at a kiddush at Chabad Rechavia, or they met at another place. See, yeah, it's not going to be the first time. It's not going to be the first time for sure. There are people, Baruch Hashem, that have met the Chabad Rechavia, and I think this is the greatest bracha that we have. Yes.
There's the thing called chemistry.
Chemistry. In Hebrew, it's chemia, 100%.
Is there a thing?
100%.
Okay, can you explain?
For sure. Okay. So, so Hashem makes that people connect on different levels. Sometimes people are more intellectual. Some people are more emotional. But when you meet, not with Zoom and not with WhatsApp video and not with Google, what's it called? Google Meet? Not with Google Meet, but real meet. In-person meet. Then there is a connection, a spiritual connection. It's not just spiritual. It's also, you feel it in the air. You feel it in the air, the relationship which is being built. Now, sometimes, we're going to talk about it in the next one. Sometimes I'll elaborate on this in the next one, but sometimes there isn't so much of a chemia, of a chemistry between the two people, and it's okay. Sometimes there's a little bit. Sometimes the more you meet, also after 10 dates, sometimes you just feel that there's no connection. It could be on paper, it makes sense, but when you sit, there has to be chemistry. So the question is, now we're going to go you're leading me into the next one. What's number 5? Please help me out. I'm sorry, number 4. I'm so excited to give. Thank you. And now I know you're listening. That's number 5. Shabbat. Zachor et yom ha-Shabbat lekadsho. Have a day of rest. And here's an amazing insight that the Rebbe says. People ask the Rebbe in letters. People ask, you know what? I'm not sure if there's a chemistry. We're meeting. It makes sense on paper. Ani lo batuach, ani lo batucha im ze be'emet. Ma amar Rebbe im ze zivug sheli. So the Rebbe said a very interesting concept. Take a break, a 2-week break. But the break has to be, it's a genius idea. I'm telling you, I tell people all the time, and it works. Either way, in this break, you're going to know very well that there's no meeting. And now in 2022, no WhatsApps, no messages, no video, garnished, nada. And within probably less than 2 weeks, but 2 weeks for sure, you'll know if you can't wait to meet the other one. Im yesh kazeh regesh shel yearning for the other person, even if it's not so strong, but the person's such a great person. I can't wait to see the person. That's the Shabbat. That's how I'm translating. I need mitagem it, a day of rest, Yom Menucha. Take a rest. Close your phone or whatever, and put it away. Put it on hold. But it has to be on the condition. It has to be truly Menucha. Just like on Shabbos, when we literally close our phones on the Chag too. Gam benyana dating is almost there, and you'll see if there's no feeling. Then you say, you know what, you're a great person. I really respect you, but I feel that that if you do it nicely, respectfully, I think a person can understand. You're not just dumping them, but you're treating them with respect. I think it's so important, and it's מאוד חשוב שזה מגיע לבניית יחסים. Now, I just want to say one more point before some of you wanted to ask a question, but it starts with the beginning. Let's say there's no chemistry at all. Then I'm pretty sure that there's no chemistry. Then after 3 dates, you pretty much know. But if there's a little bit, and people think there has to be head over heels, love dafka. Not necessarily does it have to be so over. Finally, the best, one of the most important mitzvot. What's number 5? Kabed et avicha v'timecha. Honor your parents, which is connected to the whole idea of Ahavat Yisrael, kavod, respect to a human being, to another Jew. V'haftorecha kamocha. It's all included. You can find any of the 613 mitzvot somewhere within one of these 10 Aseret HaDibrot. And so this is what I want. I touched upon this in the previous one, and in the secular world, they look at it as love at first sight, but a tremendous love, quote unquote. And then, unfortunately, on a large scale, can't say it happens always, but it happens, relatively speaking, very often. Sorry, that the love goes less and less until the separation rate is rather high, unfortunately, in the secular world. And in the Torah world, according to Torah, it's exactly the opposite. It doesn't mean that it can't be head over heels in the love at first sight, but it's something which is built. It's a nivna. Ahava is a davar shenivna bonim oto, v'mashkiim bo, v'ovdim al ze, ze davar shekol yom, kol sha'a. It's something which we keep on doing, and we keep on investing. We constantly invest in this matara, in this goal of having of building the love. So, in short, if there is, before we called it chemistry, and now we're calling it love, and then I want to call it respect. Kabed et avicha v'timecha. Kabed et avicha v'timecha means that not always do you love your parents. Not always. Sometimes. Yesterday, there was a very important person, Rabbi Yisroel Goldberg, that passed away, and I drove near Tel Aviv, and I listened to the funeral. They had it on the radio, and someone mentioned the idea, the concept that not always does a person agree with what the parents do. We have to have respect. Respect means that whether I love you, whether I feel for you or not, I honor you and I respect you. And so this is something which is built. If you have the respect, then the love can be built. Yom Achad, הגבר מגיע מותש מעבודה, ואולי לא מתנהג יפה, אבל הוא מבקש סליחה אחרי זה, ומשקיע, ומביא פרחים, ומביא מתנה. It could be the husband had a hard day at work, and he acts not nicely when he comes home after. He apologizes, and so love is like fire. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, but as long as it's being nurtured, as long as we're on a path, as long as we're trying our best to build up the relationship. Number 6. Number 6. The lows. The low. So what's the first low? Lo tirtzach. Don't murder. This I want to say. It's very important not to offend someone when you're dating. Not to offend. Don't murder them. Don't murder them.
Not on the first.
You could not on the first day, not on the 10th date. Embarrassing them. Some people, they meet someone. I know it's extreme. They go home. They send a text message, a WhatsApp message. Not for me. Come on, that you can murder someone like that. Literally, and also emotional.
Right.
The hanafshi, the emotional, the lo pachot, מהרצח, זה כל כך אכזרי. אנחנו פשוט לא מבינים את האצבע על המקלדת. We don't realize that our finger is it's like the trigger of a gun. We don't realize how you can hurt someone. I'm not even talking now about the WhatsApp groups and people offend people and they easily just criticize and lashon hara. It's the worst thing. People have committed suicide on Facebook because of being offended. We have to be so careful. So there's an amazing story from the Rebbe that there was a person, it was a guy who didn't have children for many years. And he asked the Rebbe, what's the reason? The Rebbe said, think back into one of the girls that you dated and see if you offended her and ask her for mechila. It's unbelievable. It's a true story. He thought and he realized, he remembered that he offended a girl while he was dating her. I don't know the exact details, but it's irrelevant. And he looked her up and he told her, maybe he spoke to her husband, the kitzer. He looked her up and he contacted her and he asked her for mechila, he asked her for forgiveness. He machalalo, the miyad acharei ishto nifkida. Right after that, his wife became pregnant. That it's a true story. Ad kidei kach, ze kazeh. And זה השם ירחם, השם ירחם, זה יכול להיות ממש סוג של רציחה. So it's not only for dating. All these things, kol anal, זה לא רק בdating, זה גם בשלום בית. It's also on a daily, כמו שיפה אמרה, כל יום, כל שעה, צריך להשקיע בדברים האלו. I'm just trying to encourage people for dating and I'll give a few tips based on the 10 Commandments, how we can enhance our own dating, our own relationships, our own shalom bayit. Lo tinaf. Do not have immoral marital relationships. And so it's the way I want to translate over here into the subject of dating is that it's important to keep a physical touch only for after marriage. Everything has its time. After one is married, then then physical touch is not only allowed, but it's demanded. Of course, there are at least 12 days every month. Yesh yamim she'tzich lashkia ba'kesher hadikshi. There are 12 days out of the month you have to invest more into your emotional relationship, your emotional bond with your spouse. But before marriage, of course, not to live together and also not to touch. The Rebbe once said to a couple that was having hardships in Shlom Bayit. Rebbe Amar Kacha. Kisheyesh kiruv b'shat richuk, as yesh richuk b'shat kiruv. He hinted to them that they had some kind of physical contact before they're married. So Rebbe said if there is closeness, obviously referring to physical, if there's closeness at the time of when there's supposed to be distance, then there can be chalila distance in the time when there's supposed to be closeness. So if they're having trouble with shlom bayit, peace in the home, so they should look back and they should realize, and others should realize, that at the time when there's, and also when there's a time of impurity and there needs to be a physical distance, then the emotional distance should. That's a time when to work on emotional relationship, but not chas v'shalom to breach what the Torah says that there at certain times lo tikrav. In fact, there are twice in the Torah pamayim katuv afilu lo litkarev midvar sheker tirchak. You should not only doesn't say don't say a lie, go far away from lies, go far away litrachek, go far away from sheker. Also by the laws of relationships, it says lo tikrav legalot ervata. Do not even come close. Distance yourself. Don't even come close to coming in contact in the wrong time in the right situation. Okay. The next one is lo tignov. Do not steal. And so, great point. I was just going to say that. What I'm going to say, it has to do with money, but it's related to lo tignovu. The mitzvahs are related. You're right. It means don't kidnap. Later on in Parashat Kedoshim, it says lo tignovu, don't steal, and that means katuv shetzarich l'shalem l'shadchan sheyitzia. You have to pay the matchmaker who mod chashuv l'shalem. It's very important for shlom bayit. It's very interesting. Mod manyan l'shalem l'shadchan. I remember personally that Shashi and I, my wife and I, that we met 3 people over the course. I'm in Toronto, but he's Israeli. Shalosh anashim, 3 people within almost a year suggested us 2 for each other, and all the 3 pretty much didn't know either of us. Mamash min hashamayim is a true story. The point is that it was very. Of course, we paid the shadchaniyot, but even those that suggested the year before, we also gave them a gift. We gave them something special because it's really important. Mod chashuv. L'akir todah, to show your appreciation for anybody that's part of a shidduch. 2 more. Please help me out. Ma dibra cheat. The ninth commandment. Bakasha. Yafeh mod. Lo taneh b'reacha et shaker. Do not bear false testimony. So what I want to borrow from this is that very often, arbe pamim, as shoalim anashim achirim hamlatzot. Usually you call the friend if they're whatever in their 20s, so you call their friends or their roommates. I always say don't speak to the person's roommate. You don't want to say too much. It's not good to know too much about the other person. You have to leave a little bit of leg room to find out on your own. You can't come with like a professor. You check off all the information. And so here's my point. Tzarich ladat ma lagid ma lo lagid. Lo lagid dvarim shem lo. So you have to be very careful what kind of report you give to someone who asks you. If someone calls you about your friend, doesn't mean you have to lie. Don't lie, but be very careful what you say and what you don't say. I'll leave for all of you to figure out. As a sheila tova, you have to ask a great question. If you know something bad about the other person, so there are many halachot. For example, if somebody has a medical situation, l'mashal in yan refui, there are halachot when you have to tell. For example, when you're dating someone else and a person has a medical issue, so you have to consult a rav. For example, bayot nafshiyot, it's extremely important. Chayavim lagid. You have to say. So there yesh b'zeh arbe pratim ani lo yotzel l'kanes lזה עכשיו. Chayavim lagid. אני מכיר סיפורים שבתוך עכשיו הברכות השם מלאכם זה יתפרק. זה כזה חבל, למה להפיל מישהו בפח? צריך להגיד. יכול להיות שהוא יסכים, אבל צריך להגיד. It could be the person will agree, but you have to be upfront. So there are certain things, for example, that at the 3rd date you should say. You don't have to say the whole list. You come meet the person and give them a whole list of all your problems. That's not a very good segula for Shlom Bayit and to find the shidduch. But so usually at the 3rd date, there's already some kind of chemistry, chimia, and so that it's a time to start opening up. But you have to find out what to say. But you have to be very careful what to say and what not to say. And the last one is lo tachmod. And this is what we said in the Hakdama. We said in the in the introduction for the, well, we said it also number 2. It's related to Lo Yeh Lecha Elokim Achirim. Don't think of other women or other men. In other words, while you're dating, you give the person Lo Tachmod. Don't think of others. Right now, think of the individual. Yeshakoach. Think exclusive. Rak ala noseh, only of the person that you're dating. Now, give them all you got. So I just want to finish off. Rak l'sayem bin nekuda achad. Just to finish off with one point that we mentioned earlier. Naso5782. That Am Yisrael said, "We will do and we will hear." So it's a funny story. It's a true story. I don't know if you heard of Rabbi Emmanuel Shachat, a blessed memory. He's a great Rav and a great writer from Toronto. I'm from Toronto, and I had the great zechut of being in his shul. He was our Rav. May Hashem bless his neshama and Gan Eden. He has tremendous
still alive.
missionary debates. An amazing individual. So before he found his shidduch, if you know him, you appreciate the story even much more.
He's got a real German source. Was it
Holland? He was born in Holland.
Holland?
I think. And so his mother came to the Rebbe in Yechidut, and she asked for a bracha, for a shidduch, for her son, for Rabbi Emmanuel. And so the Rebbe said, what's he looking for? So this is typical Rabbi Emmanuel. She gave a Reshima Shlema, Shemat Keniyot. So the Rebbe told her, he's looking for a few people. So I know that singles don't like to hear what I'm going to say, that they have to compromise. Because I believe that everyone is entitled to their seder adifut, to their order of demands. You have a list. What's most important? What's most important is a must. The next important is very important. So then you say mashani rotzeh, what I would like. And then you say now. Sometimes after 5 years, you say, you know what? I couldn't find my shidduch. Maybe I should change. Maybe it's not so important. Maybe number 1 is not so important. Put him down on the list, and then put number 4 on the top of the list. That's not a chulsha. It's not a weakness. I think it's a bagrut. I think it's mature to be able to say, you know what? Whatever happened until now, Ashkacha Pratit, divine providence. Maybe now I should reset my order of importance. So what was important when a person is 19 may be different when a person is 29, and it's okay. So they get more. But at the end of the day, Naso5782, we have to, at some stage, Naaseh. You have to go into it. You don't have to go blindly. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying to go in blindly. But if everything makes sense, and in my case, when 3 people suggested, it means something. And if someone, even one person, what do you have to lose? What's the worst thing in the world? To spend a couple of hours with another good person? No, makara. It's not the worst thing in the world. So I really hope, Ezrat Hashem, shema shelamadnu hayom, aseret hadibrot shel dating, halavai sheze yavi od bracha, sheze yavi tikva, l'arbe anashim, halavai that even one person, it should bring hope and it should bring bracha for all of us sitting around, whatever situation a person finds himself in any relationship. I hope that these points, and hopefully these points can help a person come closer to our goal of making more shlom bayit and more shidduchim and more weddings and more sheva brachot and more ahavat Yisrael. Toda rabah, Chag Sameach, toda rabah.